You are watching T to the M to the IDD.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? T to the M to the IDD. Today I have a piece that I wanted to bring to you all, and it's really going to be testing your thought process. It reminds me of a class that I took when I was back in college called The Theory of Knowledge, where it really made you think. And this thinking is all surrounded about your lens choice. Whenever you go out to do a photo shoot, if you're doing a video shoot, your lens choice is predicated on something. Now, most of the time, the lens choice is dependent on some type of style that you're going for. Maybe this lens has some type of character that is different than any other lens that you have. Maybe it's a 1.2, so you get that shallow depth of field. Or maybe you choose your lens according to the space that you have. You may be in a tight area, so you have to use a wide angle lens. And most of the time, that is kind of why we choose our lens. But what if I had you think about this a different way? This is probably something that you never thought of. And so I really want you to take some time and think about this question here. Do you believe that there is a correlation between your lens choice and the model that you work with? Now, when I talk about the model that you work with, I'm talking about the model herself, and also with that, the time that she has been modeling. So, do you believe that there's a correlation between your lens choice on a photo shoot and your model's length of modeling experience? Now, take a second, digest that, pause this video if you have to, and I really want you to think about that. Once you have that thought, I want you to comment below what you think that exactly means. Okay, I really want us to dive a little bit deeper into this, and for this particular video, I do think it will be some value that comes out of this video. Now, we got past that. I want to share my thoughts with you all when it comes to lens choice and the model that we work with. And I don't think that anybody has ever really thought about this or brought this to you all from this particular angle. Now, you all may or may not know I am a mathematician and I am an electromechanical engineer. And so sometimes I just randomly doze off and think into the abyss. And this thought came to me. And I said, you know what? I do think that there is a correlation between the lens that I choose and the model with their experience. Okay. Now take this as a good example. The most apparent thing, or the thing that is going to help your shoot the most from photographer to model, is what? It has to be communication, right? We always say, you take a photograph, you can see in the face of the model if communication is good. Do they vibe? Do they gel together well? We can always see it, right? And don't let it be a BTS, because if there's a video, you can definitely see if communication is key. When I started way back when, one of the things that I lacked in my photography was communication with the model, letting him know, oh, that's a good pose. I like that. Building up the confidence in them so that they know that they are doing a good job, and your images will reflect that. Okay, so communication is key. Now, let's take that and go to the actual lens choice. Okay, so this example, we have one model and we have a model that is just new into the game. Let's say that this model is just starting off, okay? So we got a model that's just starting off. When you think about a lens that you would choose, what would it be? Would it be a 35? Would it be a 50? Would it be a 24 to 70? Or we love that compression that a 135 gives. So would it be a 135? You have so many different choices when it comes to lenses. But when you kind of go in a little bit deeper and take that piece of information, it could be critical. A model that is just starting off, that model has little to no experience. So my lens choice might tell me to go with something like a 35. Now, the correlation between the two, the 35 is going to allow me to be closer in proximity to the model. And what does that allow me to do? That allows me to have proper communication with the model. That allows me to tell her or him to make minor adjustments. That allows me to let them know that this is a good pose, that's a good pose, how to pose if they need that assistance. But at that level, they probably do. And so if we take that and say, well, what if I would have chose a 135? Now you are so far away from the model that if they have little to no experience, you are faced with a communication issue, because most of the time people use a 135, they're so far back, you typically have to yell what you're saying a few times for somebody to really clearly hear what you're saying. And so that can cause a disruption in the performance of the model. So that correlation right there is the correlation between the lens choice and the model's experience. Now, if you want to flip that, a model that is totally experienced, okay, you don't have to guide it. Matter of fact, I had a model like that where she was so experienced and she was giving me so many different poses, just like boom, 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 that I had to tell her, hold on, go back to that one, go back to that one, because all of them was fire. So you take somebody like that, now you could put the 135 on and just let them free pose the whole time and not have to say pretty much nothing to them. So do you get what I'm going here for? Maybe you might have an example now that I have gave you one example where the correlation between the lens and the model could be. All right. Now I was talking to Tog Life and I was like, have you ever thought about this? And he had to take a second and think. And I know you have to think a little bit because first you're like, what are you talking about? Right. But then when you think and you make that connection, you're like, I never thought about it this way. But he offered this. If you have a model in that same exact situation, let's say you have a model that is not as experienced, okay? And you want to correlate that to a lens. Now let's talk about what helps make a pose, okay? Do they have that expression on their face? Do they have that charisma? Can they finesse the pose? All of those things help sell that pose, make it believable, and just make it solid, a solid pose. Those expressions are key. If you don't have any expression, then what are you saying? What are you saying? That's what I want to know. What are you saying? Okay? I want your face to tell me a story without saying anything. So if you have a model that is less experienced and cannot do that through their facial expressions, then something like a 85 may not be the best lens for you to choose with that model. Why? Because that 85 is going to be a little bit tighter. It's going to focus more on the model. And so that lack of expression and posing is going to be a lot more apparent when you use that 85. But if you know that they're less experienced, then you might want to consider a 35 or a get crazy with it, a 14 to 30, or whatever wide lens that you have. Because what will that do? That will open it up to including more of the environment and take most of the action off of the model and kind of help ease the lack of expression by introducing some of the environment that the model is in. So it kind of helps take the focus off the model and even the playing field, so it's not as apparent. And so that is another example of correlating your lens choice with the model's experience. Now, I'm really interested in hearing anything that you all may have to offer. If you ever thought of anything like this, now I definitely believe you can take information from this, because it's definitely useful information, especially if you are working with newer models, something you may not ever have thought about. That communication piece is really important, and maybe you have witnessed this when you wanted that look of that compressed 135 and the model was just a little bit new, and you went and started doing the shoot and she just needed a little bit of help, and so you kind of yell out to her and she still kind of looks confused, and you like, you need to be closer. They need to hear you. They need you a couple of feet away. That way you can help direct them, guide them, get them comfortable. Now, of course, this is all theory of knowledge and just deep thoughts that I wanted to share with you all. So I want to hear what you all have to say in the comments below. Can you make any correlation between the lens and model? And if you have ever thought of anything, give me your thoughts on this particular topic. If you have experienced this type of situation, also let me know in the comments below.